This money was basically given to these companies almost as a blank check. There were very few restrictions on it. So it just kind of entered the general pool of revenue that these companies were taking in, and huge amounts of that revenue was sent to owners, with very little of that revenue being returned as taxes.
The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy was supposed to help businesses make ends meet during the worst of the pandemic. But new research from Canadians for Tax Fairness finds some of Canada's biggest corporations took the subsidy at the same time that they issued dividends to shareholders, bought back stock, and in some cases, cut their workforce.
There was no interruption in the payment of their dividends. We only found one company that interrupted their dividend at all. Share buybacks did decrease, although they were still over $10 billion among all of the companies, and then bounced back almost immediately.
Canadians for Tax Fairness looked at 37 of Canada's biggest corporations that took the wage subsidy, specifically those who had the biggest gap in terms of what they reported as revenue to shareholders compared to what they reported to the CRA. They include rail corporations, asset management groups, energy corporations, and telecoms. CityNews' parent company, Rogers Communications, also appears within the report. CTF found that of the 37 corporations examined that took the wage subsidy, 34 paid out dividends to shareholders, 32 bought back stock, and at least 24 actually cut workers in 2020 while taking the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy.
Working people on fixed incomes are struggling. The ultra wealthy are only becoming wealthier, and as we saw in today's report, it's in part because of the use of public funds.
NDP tax fairness critic Nikki Ashton says there were mom and pop businesses that were saved by the wage subsidy, but considers it outrageous that large corporations used the same mechanism to cut jobs and pay investors. The report calls for a host of tax reforms to try and recover some of the money, but the federal government has so far resisted imposing an excess profits tax like those seen in the United Kingdom.
We've been very critical of the Liberals in refusing to bring in a windfall tax like other countries have done, including in sectors that have made massive profits like the oil and gas sector. There is no reason we cannot be imposing a windfall tax, except for, maybe they're good friends of the Liberals.
In Ottawa, Xiaoli Li, City News.